Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and salam sejahtera to all. My name is Aisyah Nadirah binti Rozman. In this video, my group members and I will give a presentation about corrosive chemicals. First and foremost, what is corrosive? Corrosive chemicals are referring to those chemicals which may cause serious injuries on prolonged contact with skin. It can degrade certain materials such as metal and stone. It means that they have a very strong ability to break down and destroy human tissue. When corrosive materials touch your skin, they will immediately start to dissolve your flesh and leaving burns. If corrosive substance come in contact with your eyes, they can have a very severe effects such as damaging the cornea and even causing blindness. Next, corrosives can be in the liquid, solid or gaseous state. Corrosive solids such as sodium hydroxide can cause burns to the skin and eyes. Dust from the corrosive solids can be inhaled and cause irritation or burns to the respiratory tract. Many corrosive solids such as potassium hydroxide and sodium hydroxide can produce considerable heat when dissolved in water. Then, corrosive liquids such as mineral acids, alkali solutions, and some oxidizers represent a very significant hazard because skin and eye contact can readily occur from splashes and their effect on human tissue generally takes place very rapidly. Bromine and sulfuric acid are the examples of highly corrosive liquids. In addition, corrosive gases and vapors are hazardous to all parts of the body. Certain organs such as the eyes and the respiratory tracts are particularly sensitive. The magnitude of the effect is related to the solubility of the material in the body fluids. Highly soluble gases, which are ammonia and hydrogen chloride, may cause severe nose and throat irritation. Now I will talk about the types of corrosive. Corrosive substance can be found in two conditions, which are acids and bases. As acidic chemicals, it is known as the substance that neutralize alkalis, dissolve some metals, and have a pH level less than 7, while bases are the substance that neutralize acids, slippery to touch, and have a pH level greater than 7.
Here's other examples of corrosive chemicals. There are two types of corrosive chemicals. The first one is corrosive acids. For example, hydrochloric acids and sulfuric acids. The second one is corrosive base. For example, sodium hydroxide and ammonia. Generally, corrosive chemicals is a dangerous chemicals, but they are also incredibly useful for households, commercials, and industrial uses. They are also used in industrial processes where high chemical reactivity is needed or desired. Because they tend to be highly reactive, corrosive chemicals may be used in catalytic reactions or as a reactive intermediates in the chemical industry. So I will explain more detail about the uses of corrosive chemicals. For example, hydrochloric acids. One interesting fact about hydrochloric acid is that our stomach make these chemicals naturally which further helps in the digestion of food. Hydrochloric acid acidifies the stomach contents, which is food that we consume. Next, hydrochloric acid is highly corrosive, and because of this nature, it is used as a chemical to remove stains or rust, especially from metals like irons, coppers, and others. It is often used in a dilute form. Hydrochloric acid is commonly used for cleaning tiles in the kitchen and bathrooms. This acid also used to purify table salts. Furthermore, HCl is used mostly for regulating the acidity pH of solutions, and it is used in controlling the pH of pharmaceutical products, foods, and waters. Next, sulfuric acids. Sulfuric acid is one of the most important industrial chemicals. It plays a big role in the manufacture of products. Sulfuric acid is widely used in the production of fertilizers such as superphosphates, sulfates, and ammonium phosphates. Sulfuric acid is also widely used in the production of dyes, paints, fabrics, pigments, explosives, lubricants, metals, and batteries. Talking about the uses of ammonia, it is most important in the agriculture industry and manufacture of household products that people use every day. Ammonia is used mainly in agriculture industries. About 90% of all ammonia produced is used in the field. Since ammonia is the source of nitrogen and other elements, it is used in fertilizers to basically sustain food productions. It is also used in the production of liquid fertilizers solutions consisting of compounds like ammonium nitrates, salts, urea, and others. Ammonia also is one of the main ingredients in a lot of household cleaning products. It can be used to remove stains or clean mirrors, sinks, windows, and many more. Some other uses including antimicrobial agents or an antiseptic. Lastly, sodium hydroxide. Sodium hydroxide or NaOH plays an important role in the production of chlorine bleach and soaps. Sodium hydroxide is mainly used in the manufacture of soaps that we use every day at home. In the manufacture of soaps, fats and oils are converted into soaps by reaction with sodium hydroxides. This process is also called saponification. Chlorine bleach is produced by combining chlorine and sodium hydroxides. Sodium hydroxide is also used in the paper recycling process. The uses of sodium hydroxide is to swell or expand the fibers, which is papers, when the fibers are placed in the solution with the sodium hydroxide. This swelling helps to separate the inks that is attached to the fibers, allowing the fibers to be reused.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good day. My name is Nurhain Samar Hasim, and so today I'm going to proceed with the another element in this slide, by which in pictogram, and also what kind of the hazardous of corrosive chemicals toward human and installation. or we take any kind of precaution step or to avoid from any kind of unexpected incidents during handling this kind of hazardous chemical like corrosive chemical, we are going to learn about what kind of corrosive chemical hazard pictogram that are listed in the dot hazard in class A. By which in this slide I already stated and I already put in this descriptions that the corrosive symbol is used to warn against the chemical that may damage the living tissue on contact. So this image shown a chemical spill causing the corrosion of a hand on a surface of materials. So hazarded pictogram help us to alert about the presence of the chemical reaction and chemical hazardous like corrosive chemical substance in the lab or any kind of situation that may help us to actually take the significant precaution and handling properly with another significant method. So we are going to know about what kind of the meaning of this pictogram. So this symbol indicates that the hazardous product with this pictogram can cause any damage or destroy metal on alloy or anything, and also it can cause irreversible damage to the skin's eye contact and respiratory too, and also it can produce tissue damage in the eye or vision loss that is irreversible if a person is exposure until or beyond the limits of the exposure limits of corrosive chemical without handling properly or any kind of precaution step. Next, I'm going to explain more about what are the hazard of product that have the corrosion pictogram in it that has been already assigned from WHMIS in 2015 as a sign word and hazard statement in it. Next, this kind of WHMIS stand for Workplace Hazardous Materials Information System in 2015, giving a sign of the pictogram of corrosive chemical by which in three class and category. Category 1 showing the most hazardous materials and impacts toward the environment and also toward the human. So, the product that are corrosive to metal can cause the container to become weak, eventually leading to leaking or collapse, spilling the hazardous content in the workplace. This product can also damage the metal equipment and building component, which may lead to structural collapse and injuries. This kind of product that are corrosive to the skin or eyes may also be corrosive to the respiratory tract if inhaled in exposure beyond the limit. This kind of effect could include the irritation and burn to the nose, throat, and lungs. In some cases, the pulmonary edema, by which a buildup of a fluid in the lung which can be fatal, could occur. Swelling, corrosive can also burning to the mouth, throat, and stomach, by which I will be explaining later. Some corrosive products, both liquid and solid, generate late and large amount of heat when they are mixed. For instance, this is analogy. A glass of water thrown into a bucket of concentrated sulfuric acid is converted instantly to steam, which will eject the entire content of the bucket into the air. So, this will impact whether in injuries or any kind of unexpected incident. Furthermore, I would like to show you about what are the hazardous materials from three different forms of corrosive chemical, in which from liquid, gases, vapor, and also solid that might occur and damage. So, OSHA defined a corrosive as a chemical that causes visible destruction or irreversible alteration in living tissue by chemical action at the site of contact that are listed as a hazard class A. So, corrosives can be in liquid, solid, or gas stated that can have severe impact on human health. Many chemicals commonly used in the laboratory are corrosive or irritating to the body tissue. They present a hazard to the eye and skin by the direct contact to the respiratory tract and by the ingestion. So we are going to see what kind of the hazard reassessment from this kind of three form of corrosive chemical, which is the first one is corrosive liquid, by which it represent a very significant hazard because skin and eyes are very ready and occur from splashes and their eyes on human tissue generally take place very rapidly. For instance, we have bromine, sodium hydroxide, sulfuric acid that can impact as a simple example of highly corrosive liquid that impact and damage the body skin of a human body. The next one, we are going to see about the corrosive gases and vapor. Corrosive gases and vapor are hazardous to all parts of bodies like certain organs like eyes and respiratory tract. They are particularly sensitive to any kind of unknown resource. The magnitude of the effect is related to the solubility of the materials in the body fluid. So highly soluble gases like ammonia and hydrogen chloride can cause severe nose and throat irritation, while substances of lower solubility like nitrogen oxide, sulfur acid can actually penetrate deep into the lung that can cause any kind of respiratory problem in the future. And last but not least, we are going to see what are the effects in corrosive in solid form. So corrosive solid forms such as sodium hydroxide and phenol can cause burn to the skin and eyes. So dust from the corrosive solid can be inhaled and cause irritation or burn to the respiratory tract. So many corrosive solids such as potassium hydroxide and sodium hydroxide can produce considerable heat when dissolved in water, and this is very harmful and hazardous toward the human health if you are not taking any kind of precaution or properly significant step to handle it properly. Next, I'm going to show about and research from ResearchGate and others resource that regarding the exposure of hazard from corrosive materials. So the first one showing the impact of corrosive substance in the hospital in Rotterdam, that showing these kind of people are attempting suicide by consuming this kind of corrosive chemical. The second slide showing the dangerous aspect of corrosive gases like chlorine that happened in 2010 in the US when a ruptured cylinder really a giant greenish cloud of chlorine at the workplace, which causing the permanent injuries and line, and also hospitalized several administration people there. And last but not least, this is the impact from the corrosive chemical, from corrosive liquid that are impacting the walkway and the work others by surviving that and having the severe suffer burn to their face and internal organ from this kind of corrosive chemical. Last but not least, I'm going to show you the impact not only for human health but also the impact on equipment and installation, which is the first one. We can see that the corrosive chemical can damage to work equipment, component and materials. The second one, the production of hydrogen gas on contact lead to an unexpected explosion. And the last one, the contamination of fluid in pipe or vessel. I think that's all for me. I'm sorry if any kind of flaws. See you again.
Assalamualaikum and hi, I'm Farabi Amin. I will go through with the next subtopic, which is safety measure for corrosive chemical. As my colleague said, the corrosive chemicals can be harmful to humans because it can cause injuries. By following the safety measures, such injuries can be safely avoided. Actually, this safety measure can be divided into three, which are when handling, when storing, and when disposing the corrosive chemical. To begin with, I will be sharing the tips when handling corrosive chemical. Firstly, to handle the corrosive chemicals, the person handling the chemicals must wear a complete personal protective equipment such as gloves, lab coat, boots, mask, and safety goggles. By doing so, the person can avoid skin contact with the corrosive chemical. Besides that, it also can prevent the person from inhaling the corrosive chemical. Next, corrosive chemical should be handled in an enclosed space. Usually, in a lab, the corrosive chemical are handled in a fume hood. This is because well-designed ventilation system can remove corrosive vapors and fumes from the areas. It will ensure that any possible hazardous or poisonous substances generated are adequately vented. Next tips, eye wash and safety showers must be available. This is because most injuries caused by the corrosive chemicals as a result from accidental skin or eye contact. The first aid for these injuries usually involve flooding the contaminated area with large amounts of water. The affected area should be immediately flushed with water for 15 minutes. And the last tip when handling these chemicals is to add corrosive chemical solely into water. Sometimes their reaction requires mixing corrosive chemical with water. Many corrosive chemical will generate large amount of heat when they are mixed with water. This can cause the solution to froth and boil or even to erupt violently from the container. So to avoid the violent reaction and splattering happen, always add corrosive to water slowly and in small amount. Moving on to the next safety measure is when storing the corrosive chemicals. Firstly, the corrosive chemical must be stored in suitable temperature storage. This is to avoid increase in pressure in the container. When a corrosive liquid is stored in direct sunlight or near other heat source, it will lead to an increase in pressure that may cause the container to rupture. The best ways to store the corrosive chemicals is in dry, cool areas, out of direct sunlight, and away from other source of heat. Secondly, the corrosive chemical must be stored below ice level. This can minimize the danger of their falling from cabinets or shelves. Thirdly, acid and base must be stored separately because they are incompatible with each other. By storing separately, violent neutralization reaction can be avoided. For this situation, secondary containers or trays can be used to separate acid and bases or other incompatible corrosive within a corrosive cabinet. Up next, I'm going to share the tips on disposing corrosive chemicals. First and foremost, never dispose corrosive down sinks or drains. This is because when the person disposes the corrosive down sinks or drains, it can deteriorate piping and possibly imperil the health and safety of both workers and the general public. The corrosive chemical can be disposed according to the manufacturer or supplier's direction or through hazardous waste collection and disposal companies. Last but not least, containers used to store chemical should not be reused, as empty drums, bottles, and other containers often have hazardous corrosive residue inside them. That container must be properly treated as corrosive waste. I think that's all for me. I will pass over to the next presenter.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Nahtaki Fushedi and I will continue the presentation. I will present about importance of learning safe storage practice for corrosive chemicals. Based on the slide I made, I create a point for easy to read for you. Okay, fact number 1. Corrosive chemicals can still pose a risk even when not in use. It because corrosive chemicals is a dangerous substances that can harm us. Even it was not be used while doing the experiment, it can harm us if we not follow the rules inside the lab. For example, we play around the lab that we will never realize our surrounding and we crash the table that full of chemical substances. This incident happened and was our own fault. Okay, fact number 2. Can minimize the chance of incidents and reaction happen. If we learn about safe storage practice, we can avoid any incident happen in the lab. And also, an unexpected reaction of chemicals can be avoided, where the reaction probably can release a gas or a liquid that can harm us. For example, bleach was spilled from the rag and react with oxygen. The smell will make us hard for breath. Okay, fact number 3. For avoiding the incompatible reaction that can release corrosive gas or corrosive chemical, the incompatible reaction will release a harmful gas and liquid where can damage our body from outside and also inside. For example, you clean the bathroom using bleach without ventilation will make you hard to breathe and you will faint. fact number 4. Corrosive chemicals can harm the outside body, but corrosive gas will damage inside internal organs. It means the corrosive chemicals can harm our skin even a little drop. And also the corrosive gas can harm us in our internal organs like lungs. That's why we must clean up the chemical after use and put the waste properly to avoid pollution. For example, the pollution of water and air will harm our body. Okay, fact number 5. The waste can pollute the environment like water, air and nature. Can you imagine? The clear water, the fresh air and clean surrounding will be vanished and will be replaced with the polluted water, stinky smell and dirty surrounding. I guess we will hard to live healthy and always got sick every time. For example, when the morning comes, you open your window to take a few breaths, but stinky smells come to you. You want to use the water, but the yellow or black water comes out. And also moist and dirty surrounding your place. You will feel sick and feel like living inside the hell. Okay, fact number 6. Can harming people unto death. By the surrounding sick, you will also feel sick. The waste of corrosive chemicals was not handled properly will lead this situation. That's why we must learn about safe storage practice properly to avoid all of this. And also, the storage must be handled every time because it still can pose any risk to us. Okay, slide number 2. Research data about the significance of proper assessment and a way to handle and use corrosive chemicals. You can see in my slide, I placed a few points based on the journal I found. The first journal is about managing risk of hazardous chemicals in the workplace by Safe Works Australia. And also the second journal is about identifying evaluation in research laboratories by American Chemical Society. And based on that, I take a few points from the journal that telling about handling the corrosive chemicals. Firstly, we must use a proper equipment like lab coat, Google, rubber glove, closed shoes and mask. All of these are basic when handling the chemicals. We can avoid any harms from the chemicals. Secondly, must wash our hands and face after done dealing the corrosive chemicals to clean up our open skin like hand and face from the chemicals that can avoid it react with outside the lab. Thirdly, the use of fume hood. Why we must use fume hood? To keep the corrosive gas free in the air that will harm us when we want to breathe. Okay, fourthly, prepare a place to store the chemical waste to avoid any pollution happens around us. Fifthly, clean up clearly the equipment after dealing with the chemicals to keep sanitizing and clean the apparatus, and also can be used for the next session. Yeah, just like that. That's all from me. Thank you.
In conclusion, as corrosive substances have a strong ability to dissolve flesh and cause severe burns to your skin and eyes, it is very important that you are aware of the corrosive substances that are present in your workplace. You must also take certain measures to ensure that they pose minimal risk to people, property, and also the environment. When storing corrosive substance in your workplace, it is very important that you segregate acids and bases. It is because if acids and bases mix, they will neutralize each other and produce dangerous byproducts such as poisonous salts. In some neutralization reactions between acids and bases, severe heat evolves which can have other dangerous implications. When corrosive substances are present in the workplace, it is also very important that you store and handle them in the way that minimizes their risk to people, property, and the environment.